Hey, it's me, Tim. In this video, I'm going to finish making this guitar. I didn't film the steps that I've done so far to get to this point because I have plenty of other videos that show these steps. What made this guitar interesting and film worthy is what I'm about to do next. It's a custom order for a client who wanted to make the guitar have a sort of theme and look to it like it came out of the video game Fallout. This is not sponsored, I don't know anything about the video game, I just know that it's this post-apocalyptic future where civilization stopped in the 1950s, so styles, colors, technology of that era sort of cyberpunked out. And it sounded like kind of like a fun build, and let's see what's going to happen. I don't know yet. We are live streaming this on YouTube for a future video. I saved this body for Arbortect's Global Maker Fest, where they had a whole bunch of power carving live streaming events happening on YouTube at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. Sometimes I use the CNC to do contours in the bodies, but often I find myself wanting to do it by hand with power carving. Not only is it probably a little faster this way, but I can also use some of the natural sort of special characteristics of each guitar and accentuate them in my carving. There are many, many reasons why no two guitars I make are alike, and this is just one of them. It's a way of keeping that sort of personalized custom feel for each instrument. After I got my body to shape, I applied some linseed oil to sort of darken the wood back out and protect it a little bit. I had these paints left over from a project I did a few years ago, and they had that perfect sort of 50s kind of seafoamy colors that are also in sort of trendy again now. I used two shades so it would look like it was either repainted or you were seeing primer underneath. Then it was time to pick my collection of garbage, which I am, believe it or not, in the process of trying to organize. You'll see more of what I found later. One thing that I dug up was this piece of perforated metal. It's some pretty cool stuff I had left over from a cabinet that I built years and years ago, and I used my plasma cutter to cut out a headstock plate from this, as well as a pickguard, or part of the pickguard, which you'll also see later. I thought this stuff had a nice look. It had a little bit of a rusty look to it. My plasma cutter ended up giving me a hard time, and some of the stuff was just easier to cut by hand with a bandsaw anyways, but as I went to do the pickguard, my plasma cutter sort of started not working right on me. I don't know if the switch needs to be replaced or what. It was cutting out, and so I ended up finishing it. As you can see, I'm struggling with it. Ended up just finishing it on the bandsaw, which was fine, and I'll go back and deal with that plasma cutter later. I don't use it very often. It could just be full of cobwebs. This is another trick that I had picked up. There are some very expensive chemicals that you can spray on metal so you can etch them in your laser engraver, but this dry moly lube is a less expensive way of doing it. So I fired up my Thunder Laser, and shout out to Derek of Square Splinter for that sticker. Spray the piece of metal with that lubricant, and then you clean it off after it's been laser etched, and you can see the graphic appear in the metal. It didn't work super well on this sort of rusty steel for like getting that real contrast, but it's there and you can see it. And then I used spray paint to mark where I needed to drill my holes in my pickguard. But this is the part I was most excited about. Is I have all these old circuit boards that are from pinball machines that I have turned into furniture in the past. You can go search pinball machine desk on my channel and find some of those. And I thought it'd be really kind of a cool look to give it that sort of sci-fi space-age look on the front of the guitar. And we also came up with the idea of adding some LED lights to the build, which we could incorporate into the circuit board so it looks like it's some sort of futuristic robotic thing going on the guitar. Also noticed these beautiful old vintage pickups that were rewound by my buddy Rob at Gemini Pickups. I told him what I was building. I said I was looking for something that looked like it was from the 50s and it looked like it had kind of been through a war, and he showed me those, and I was like, perfect, don't polish them, just wind them like they are. And you can see I had a lot of tinkering and finagling to do to figure out how to make these like batteries and fit in, and lights and wires. It was an absolute wiring and logistical nightmare, but once I got it all figured out, it was time to finish it and then put it together. To do this accurately, I would have only put finish on the painted parts or finished it and then sanded the finish off, but we decided to just clear coat the whole thing to kind of protect the look as is. Maybe someone in the future decided to spray it. I used the amber tinted Total Boat Halcyon as a water-based product that is my go-to finish for just about everything nowadays.
The wiring was a bit overwhelming, and it's not my strongest suit, so it's not the neatest job in the world when I do it, but I fit it all in there. Double volume and tone, and the humbucker has a split coil. And then of course I had to, you know, crown and level all the frets and do a typical guitar setup too, which again I didn't bother filming. I have lots of other film about that. And I found these really cool old rusty lag bolts that I put on for strap holders, and they will work with those silicone strap locks. Another fun idea from the client was to use some soda bottle tops for knobs, and I just cut a piece of wood to put inside them, glued it in there, and they worked great.
These are the kind of projects that I get really excited about, because it was someone had an idea and then they brought it to me and we brainstormed, we put it together, and we came up with something that I couldn't have come up with on my own because I'd never even heard of this video game before. So I'm really happy with that. I love doing special, unique things and making one-of-a-kind things, which is what attracted me to this line of work in the first place. So who's next? What can I make for you? Be good.